Rebecca Paul to make a maiden speech.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for allowing me the opportunity to deliver my maiden speech in this important debate that seeks to remember the valiant actions of those who have fought to keep this country safe. It is a privilege to rise today as the newly elected Member of Parliament for Reigate, a constituency I am proud to represent and serve. I am deeply grateful to the people of Reigate, Redhill, Banstead and our villages for placing their trust in me. Before I turn to an issue of great importance to my constituents, I must acknowledge my predecessor, Crispin Blunt, himself a veteran. I have not rushed to deliver my maiden speech, not least out of a desire to give careful thought to the words I choose. Rather ironically, it seems Crispin faced a similar conundrum in 1997. In fact, I don't think I could do better than to quote from his own maiden speech, in which he said, and I quote, "It must be admitted that Sir George Gardner did not end his Conservative Party career in a blaze of glory." He then goes on to say, "Sir George was a resolute battler for the causes he believed in, and although many of us questioned his judgment at the end, no one could question the resolve with which he steered his chosen course." My sincere hope is that when my successor rises to deliver their maiden speech, they are not inclined to give those words a in this House. That said, I would like to recognise Crispin Blunt's 27 years of public service. I also want to pay tribute to his team. No MP achieves anything without a great team supporting them. And Crispin's team served our communities with diligence and grace during many challenging times. So I take this opportunity to thank them, especially Theresa Craig, who has gone above and beyond in the last 15 years, helping many thousands of constituents. I also want to pay tribute to Lord Grayling, the former MP for Epsom and Newell. Thanks to recent boundary changes, I've welcomed the wards of Newark and Tattenham Corner and Preston into the Reigate constituency. Chris was an exceptional local MP, and I thank him for all his support. And now, Madam Deputy Speaker, let me turn to a subject close to my heart, my wonderful home. Reigate is a constituency that encapsulates the very best of both town and country. A trinity of towns in the most beautiful part of Surrey, each with their own unique character and identity. We have the historic town of Reigate, with its winding streets, independent shops and proud heritage, a place of immense charm and community spirit, and notably the location of the first road tunnel built in England. It is the birthplace of Margot Fonteyn, one of the greatest classical ballerinas of all time, and also the place where both our current Prime Minister and Fatboy Slim were educated. Just north of the town stands Reigate Fort, a Victorian structure intended to serve as a last line of defence in the event that the South had fallen and defeat seemed certain. A role, Madam Deputy Speaker, not unlike that which Reigate played in the recent general election. Then there is Redhill, a railway town that pulses with energy and ambition, a transport hub and a centre for business, commerce and the arts. The home to an inspirational lioness and some lobsters. As the place where the existence of solar flares was first confirmed, Redhill shines bright as a vivacious younger sister to Reigate. And finally, we have Banstead, that offers a quieter appeal with its village feel and beautiful commons. Its bustling high street, adorned with gorgeous flowers, lovingly tended by local residents. A community where its respectful patriotism is keenly felt, especially this time of year. I must take this opportunity to recognise and thank the Banstead and District Royal British Legion branch, who do an outstanding job paying tribute to and raising money for our armed forces and veterans. Our towns, we are blessed with many picturesque villages, each with its own charm. Disappointingly, Madam Deputy Speaker, there isn't enough time for me to tell you about all of them, so I will tell you about just one, and that is Walton on the Hill. With its serene pond, world-class golf and history of feisty suffragettes, it is the place I chose to settle and raise my family. Like a thief, Walton stole my heart. I must thank the Prime Minister for giving it early release. Madam Deputy Speaker, it won't surprise you to hear that one of the reasons the towns and villages of my constituency are so unique is because of the Green Belt. We are incredibly fortunate to be surrounded by beautiful countryside, from the rolling hills of the North Downs to the open green spaces of Banstead Commons. But this country needs more homes, so the pressure now comes to build upon the Greenbelt, because it's easy, but that is the lazy solution. The new government talks about developing brownfield first, which I very much support. But just saying the words isn't enough. For building on these sites to become a reality, we need tangible action to make brownfield development economically viable. We also need to have an honest conversation about the impact of reducing housing targets in London, whilst nearly doubling them in Reigate and Banstead. Even if by some miracle my local council could deliver this, they would simply be building homes for people from London to move into, not meeting the local need, and certainly not bringing down house prices. If we are to break the cycle, we must densify in cities where essential infrastructure is already in place. Indeed, I hope that this Labour government will consider tackling the issue of housing with the same spirit shown by the Labour government elected in the final months of the Second World War. Then as now, the country was in desperate need of more homes. Clement Attlee delivered 1 million of them, and he did so while insisting both on densification and ensuring that development was concentrated in cities and towns. Madam Deputy Speaker, Mr Attlee set out to build his new Jerusalem, primarily as a fitting tribute to a generation of servicemen who fought, endured and suffered to keep this country safe from fascist tyranny. That heroic generation included Flight Lieutenant Douglas Adcock from Redhill, who flew ultra-high-risk missions for the Photographic Reconnaissance Squadron at RAF Benson. Tragically, though, Douglas never came home. On the 11th of August 1944, his aircraft failed to return from one of these missions, and some days later, his body washed up on the shore in Belgium, where he is buried today. A generation earlier, Lieutenant Rupert Hallows, another Redhill man, answered the call to serve his country and would go on to earn the Victoria Cross in the First World War, but died fighting at Hughes in 1915. These are accounts of just 2 men, but memorials across my constituency bear the names of many hundreds more, hundreds who left home to fight for their country and did not return. Ultimately, the debt we owe to the fallen can never be repaid, but we honour them, keeping the promise to never forget. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, on that note I will end, but just before I do, I want to thank my parents, Bev and Steve, without whom I wouldn't be here today. Today is a proud day for our family, one that we will remember. Thank you.
A man